Here are the results that you should have gotten as you were working through that. You should have gotten 4 of these shortcuts that do prove congruence every single time. SSS that we did together, then SAS, ASA, and SAA, which remember is the same thing as AAS. The 2 that do not prove congruence are AAA that we did together, and then SSA, the cuss word backwards. So it's a good thing that one didn't work, right? So these are our first 4 shortcuts for proving that triangles are congruent. We're going to learn a 5th one tomorrow, and that's all that there are. There are 5 shortcuts for proving triangles are congruent. Now, the reason why we call them shortcuts is because, remember, when you have congruent triangles, there are really 6 pieces of corresponding parts that are congruent. 3 corresponding sides that are congruent, and 3 corresponding angles that are congruent. So we don't have to prove all 6 of those things are true in order to say the triangles are congruent. We can just prove 3 things are true, but only using these shortcuts will that work. So here is a visualization on why SSA does not work. And so this is jokingly referred to as the donkey theorem for obvious reasons. Now, it is not a real theorem. It is not a shortcut, okay? This is a joke. So do not ever write the donkey theorem as your reason for a step on a proof, okay? It does not exist. It's just a joke. And so you can see here why the SSA combination does not work. In this triangle, we have these 2 sides marked and the non-included angle. That's what creates SSA. Well, this side, I can keep it the same exact length and swing it out here. And so this side is congruent to that side. These are still congruent, and those angles are still congruent. And obviously, this first triangle is not congruent to that last triangle, even though they have 2 pairs of congruent sides and the non-included angle that is congruent. And so that is why SSA cannot be used to guarantee that 2 triangles will be congruent to each other. Okay, so you will never use that as a shortcut. Now, I want to go over a couple of things on your homework this evening that I want to make sure that you do correctly. So on number 7, it tells you to sketch 2 congruent triangles and to use tick marks and arcs to show all the corresponding sides and angles that are congruent. So you should have 3 pairs of tick marks on your sides. And remember, you don't use the same number of tick marks, right? So you would use 1 pair of tick marks on one side showing they're congruent. The next pair of sides you show are congruent, you would use 2 tick marks, and then the third side 3 tick marks. Same for the arcs for all the angles. Now you want to label your triangles, so what I would suggest maybe you doing is going back to your notes on 9.1 and just use these 2 triangles from number 3. So draw these 2 triangles on your homework and then show all those corresponding parts that are congruent with your arcs and your tick marks. But again, make sure you label them, okay, A, B, C, and D, E, F on your triangles you draw here, okay. I also want to talk to you about the last question on your homework, number 9. It says to add 1 set of marks to the diagram below to obtain a pattern in which the 2 triangles are congruent. There is more than one answer that is possible here, okay? But you're just going to add 1 set of marks. So either 1 pair of tick marks or 1 pair of arcs that would use one of those 4 shortcuts we used today and would prove these 2 triangles are congruent. So once you add that 1 set of marks, you're going to write out your congruent statement. So you're going to say triangle DOJ is congruent to triangle what? And remember, those corresponding parts have to be in the right order. You're also going to have to tell which postulate you used. Okay, it might be different than your neighbors. It depends on what set of marks you added as to what postulate you're using. And your choices are those 4 that we learned today. SSA, not SSA, SSS, SAS, AAS or SAA, and then ASA. Those 4 are the only possibilities here, but it depends on what you used as your set of marks as to which ones Sorry, I keep wanting to write that, don't I? As to which one you're going to say you used, okay? So what marks you use determines which one of these shortcuts you're going to be writing. But don't forget your congruent statement. Triangle DOJ is congruent to what triangle?